Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Andreas. I usually sit at the back row, so hello, good morning, future me. Welcome to my presentation as well. Right, today I'm gonna tell you about a topic that I'm proposing after reading some journal articles. I'm planning to do a study on the effect of foreign language anxiety level on learner speaking performance across classroom settings, traditional, web conference, and VR-based settings. As we know that almost everyone has experienced anxiety when speaking a foreign language. If you have learned another language apart from your mother tongue, and you're asked to speak using that language, you may experience this as well. Human-computer interaction through virtual reality or web conference platforms may help reduce anxiety that is commonly found in traditional classroom setting. So, anxiety here is when people or when the learners speak in a foreign language. So when anxiety hits, then cognitive flow is influenced either positively or negatively. Sorry, and emotion significantly plays a part in this regard. It is important, especially when one speaking in a foreign language is being assessed. So, like TOEFL IBD or IELTS speaking section, when someone is tested, how competent they are in uh, using the language to communicate, and especially for the academic entrance, for example, and this will be a high stakes exam. So this presentation will review four journal articles in this topic, and I will explain a potential future study. Right. So there are four articles that I'm about to present. The first one is the impact of virtual reality on L2 French learners' language anxiety and oral comprehensibility. It was an exploratory study that was published in Calico. The second article was by Castillo, the role of foreign language anxiety on L2 utterance fluency during a final exam. The third article is by Onwuezi, titled Factors Associated with Foreign Language Anxiety. And the last article is titled Impact of Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety on Higher Education Students' Academic Success, Mediating Role of Emotional Intelligence, and Moderating Influence of Classroom Environment. Right, the first article, The Impact of Virtual Reality on L2 French Learners' Language Anxiety, it was a quasi-experimental research comparing the students' anxiety level while practicing consensus building tasks in French. So French was the second language, the target language being learned. And it was found that later, longitudinally, the use of VR was better than the traditional classroom setting in reducing learners' anxiety level when speaking the French language. It used FeedTime VR app, and it used self-reported anxiety questionnaire, and it also used saliva cortisol collection using a swab. So the relevance of this article to mine is that it provides insights on the use of VR in reducing foreign language anxiety. So this is the only article that I have so far that I have found in relation to anxiety and VR, and it provides reference on measuring FLA by using SWAP. The limitation of this article is that the research instrument uses SWAP, so uh, I would say that the participants of the study were pretty suffering because one, they had to be anxious in that condition, right? Secondly, they needed to use VR that may cause cyber sickness, right? And the third one is the use of swap that was not comfortable, for sure. And the second article, the title is The Role of Foreign Language Anxiety on L2 Utterance Fluency During a Final Exam. So utterance fluency is different from the other kinds of fluency. In my discipline, we have perceived fluency and cognitive fluency. And one way to measure cognitive fluency is utterance fluency. So it is a classroom exam-based research investigating the influence of student anxiety level during oral final exam in Spanish. So it was during a final exam, and the language was Spanish. Later, it was found that learners' anxiety level negatively influenced their fluency level, and it explained in details how to measure utterance fluency. So I like this research because I did research on anxiety as well, and my research showed that anxiety level was positive instead of negative. So it completes our understanding in this regard. So the relevance why I selected this article was that it provides insights on the role of anxiety in influencing speaking test performances. Okay, and secondly, it provides a reference on investigating utterance fluency measures. So there are seven fluency measures that are grouped into two factors. One is speed fluency. The second one is breakdown fluency. And in total, there are about seven variables within that factors. The limitation of this research is that it uh, concerned a traditional setting only, and it used only self-reported foreign language anxiety questionnaire. In fact, it didn't use the foreign language anxiety in a test setting, so it just used the foreign language anxiety as a general um, understanding, um, not particularly related to test itself. So this is a caveat that this research has, in my opinion. And then the third summary, the third article, it's titled "Factors Associated with Foreign Language Anxiety." It is interesting because it studied 210 students or participants across four different foreign languages: Spanish, German, French, and Japanese. And the study found that there were seven factors influencing the foreign language anxiety, including age, academic achievement, experience of visiting foreign countries, past experience with the languages in high school, expected score for the language course, perceived scholastic competence, and perceived self-worth. Why this article is relevant to my future research, as it provides deeper understandings on how anxiety related to human emotions, and how to take into account seven factors in psychology in this case. But there's one limitation that I identified. It was on technology, because it was conducted in 1999. So at that time, the technology was pretty limited. There was no web conference and there was no VR. Well, there was, but not very popular in this case, and it was not used in this study. The fourth article, the last article that I would present to you guys, is titled "Impact of Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety on Higher Education Students' Academic Success." I like this article because it takes into account not only one other variable apart from foreign language anxiety, but also three other. So it takes into account emotional intelligence, how individuals can control the emotion. The second one is classroom environment, and uh, academic success. So including FLA or foreign language anxiety, there would be four variables altogether. It is interesting because it took into account 615 participants across universities in China who were studying English and Chinese. Well, English and Chinese were not their first language, so they may have also studied international students in China in this case. It is relevant because it provides insights on the role of FLA in relation to emotional intelligence, academic success, and classroom environment. It also provides a reference on using covariance-based structural equation modeling statistics like factor analysis, so that we can understand more the latent variables across these observed variables. The limitation is that it only used self-reported questionnaire because of the number of the participants, and they initially they had 700, but then 640 returned, and they only used 615 due to some reason. Right. So for my future planning, I would want to conduct a study titled "The Effect of Foreign Language Anxiety Level on Learner Speaking Performance Across Classroom Settings." So this is not a test setting; it is a classroom setting in three different modalities: traditional, web conference, and VR based. So the keywords, some important keywords related here are human-computer interaction, definitely, virtual reality, foreign language anxiety, classroom environment, and utterance fluency. So it will be a quasi-experimental research study with three groups: one control group, traditional classroom; first treatment group, web conference classroom; and the second treatment group, which is VR based. And the independent variables would be classroom environment and foreign language anxiety. And the dependent variables would include English speaking test scores. Well, this is not uh, it's not a summative test. It's not a format. It's not a summative test. It's a formative test. So it is test score in a way that it's a practice, test practice score. So I need to change that one. And the other one would be utterance fluency that has 7 variables grouped into 2: speed fluency and breakdown fluency. And the connections with the previous 4 articles, it relates to article 1 and 4 in a way that I will include not only one this instrument to investigate anxiety, but I will use 3 these instruments. First is self-reported questionnaire by the participants, digital heart rate measurement put into their wrists, perhaps using a smart watch or things like that, and observation checklist. From I need a person to do the observation checklist. It can also be me, or I would say an observer would be appropriate later by using video recording perhaps. And this study relates to the article 2 and 3 in relation to it answers not only one classroom setting but 3 different classroom settings. So especially through the use of technology that we have at the moment, web conference like Zoom, Google Meet, or WebEx, VR, and the physiological measurement using the smartwatch that I mentioned. So that's for me. I would like to close this presentation using a citation. Nervous and excited are the same sensation. Negative versus positive. Stop saying you are nervous and start saying you are excited. I think that's a good one. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you enjoy my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm there at the back. So if you have any questions, reach out. Okay, thank you so much. Cheers.